Did you hear what Kirby Smart said about Jalen Milroe? Kirby Smart, obviously the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. They're back-to-back national champions. We had the incredible honor of talking to this dude. He was great on our show.
Oh, yeah.
Great on our show. Seems like he's building a team in a blue-collar fashion, a tough fashion. They're playing Alabama in the SEC Championship this Saturday, where we will be live from for game day, and I'll be live from on Friday. Here's Kirby Smart talking about Jalen Milroe. You're talking about a compliment. Here's like 10 of them in one particular statement.
When you were talking about Milroe, are those like Tim Tebow characteristics with the size, the speed, and the running ability?
No offense to Tim Tebow, but
I love Tim Tebow.
This guy's different. Tim was, he was just, it was a different running style, very different running style in terms of what they did and how they did things. This guy's, it's like when I used to ask my sons who they were playing with on the Madden game, and they would say, I'm playing with the Ravens, and I would say, why are you playing with the Ravens? And they would say, they got Lamar Jackson, and nobody can tackle him. Well, this guy's a bigger physical version of that. He's playing at a different speed than everybody else when you watch it, and that's the way the Madden game was for him. And, the guy throws the ball really well.
Old school 2K, you'd play with Pat White, Steve Slayton. West Virginia was the team on NCAA 2K because of what Pat White was able to do at the quarterback position and running. Obviously, Michael Vick was like that, and Madden Lamar Jackson like that. Whenever you have these freak athletes at the quarterback position who just are seemingly faster, stronger, smarter, and everything at one position, it's fun. I didn't know Milroe had that type of respect from his peers, though. I didn't know Milroe had that respect because this is his first year starting. He got benched earlier in this year, and we've seen him obviously blossom and grow, and he actually said, where's the Heisman? Give me that motherfucker after the 4th and goal from the 31, which I love that. I enjoy hearing that type of moxie out of him. I'm pumped for Milroe. Like, hey, congratulations, man.
Yeah.
That's like the back-to-back national champions talking about you. He's worked his ass off to get here, which I think makes us understand, too, that, like, this Georgia defense is going to be ready for everything that this Alabama team has. Think about how Kirby's talking about this Alabama team as we head into the SEC championship, AJ.
Yeah, we were there and we got to see him play. We watched him play in person. The first thing you notice when you see him is just his physical stature, just everything about him. And then you watch how he's progressed, especially as a passer this year, and you see his leadership. And I mentioned it yesterday. I feel like he has infectious positivity, at least every time he's on camera. His teammates have to feel that. But if you're an opponent, upcoming opponent, and you're watching some of that film, it's scary to think about what this guy can do with his legs, obviously, all day long. But he can just beat you so many different ways. I remember I played against Cam Newton when he was early on in his career, and Cam, like, all right, man, what are we going to do? What do we have to do here? Like, you do whatever you can, get him to the 3rd and long or whatever. Cam runs 3 dudes over, rolls his way into the end zone. And he would just continue to do that all day. And then he lofts the ball over your head and has nice touch on it. And he can kind of do everything. And I think Milroe, we're watching him grow as a quarterback, but man, it's fun to watch, like, just his physical nature and everything that he can do that you can't coach, you can't do that. Like, he's just special.
He gets on the edges too. Those corners are making some business decisions, D-Bud. What do you think about this Alabama team?
Like you said, he's built, but freak show athlete. Still, in my opinion, athletes still learning how to play quarterback. Obviously, it's a long season. We saw him take that L to Texas. You mentioned get benched, and you make a big play like that in the Iron Bowl. And now, you got the back-to-back national champs. This completely flip everything on his head. He goes out and win this game. But just a freak athlete. He's in open space. Any Saturday, he can be the fastest, most electric player on the field, which is saying something in the SEC if you're playing the quarterback position. So he's a special talent to watch.
And Saban, I think, has really embraced everything that he is. They have a meeting every single week. They chit-chat. I think it's near whenever we get a chance to talk to Coach Saban. But the way he's talked about his development, and he said, the guys really like him. That's what he kept. He just always says, the guys really like him. That means something. Like earlier, Lombardi was talking about Carson Wentz whenever Frank Reich basically told the Colts, like, hey, Carson over here, whenever we were looking for a quarterback, obviously what Frank and Doug and Carson were able to do in Philadelphia before big Richard Nick Foles came in and did his thing. Frank Reich thought that they could kind of recreate Carson Wentz, who was an MVP quarterback before he got hurt for the Philadelphia Eagles in Indianapolis. And then when it didn't work out, when Carson couldn't win over the locker room, and when nobody really – Michael Lombardi said he thinks that ruined Frank, like his confidence and everything, because Frank thought he saw something and it completely backfired. And he said it was because he couldn't relate to the lot. Like, if the team likes you, that's a massive ordeal. Now, you have to be good. You can't suck. Normally, if you suck, teams aren't going to like you just because you're ruining a lot of our lives. Okay. A lot of us are potentially doing our jobs pretty good, and we can't be happy. You know why? Because you stink. That's going to be at any position, but it's certainly at a quarterback position whenever they're touching the ball every single time. It's not easy to be liked anywhere in a professional sport level if you're losing and you stink. That's just going to be one of those things. But, like, how much he's loved, the benching, how he handled it, it's like mentally the makeup of this guy is special. I think he's very fucking special. And Coach Saban has coached people like Hurts, who I think we're watching his leadership kind of be on display. So with how athletic he is, how mentally sharp and tough and seemingly professional he is, it's like Milroe might be a guy for a long time in this football world. And I think, with the way the NFL game is kind of going, are we just seeing the beginning of something very special? And is this weekend one of the ones we'll look back on and said changed everything for him from the national spotlight?
What year is Milroe?
Junior, I think.
Junior?
Maybe sophomore?
Junior, but there's COVID year, I think.
COVID year, yeah.
I mean, even, and I hate to do it because I know he's a quarterback and probably wants to be a quarterback, but when I watch him play, I feel like this guy can play 4 or 5 different positions, and obviously if he wants to stay a quarterback, he can do that, continue to develop.
Sophomore.
Be a tough one. But you mentioned Hurts, but even Tua. Tua is mature. Somebody talked about it the other day about what Mike McDaniel is doing on here, and then to go back with Wentz, what Lombo said about that connectivity, like that was a super tough year. I couldn't imagine that year, being in 2020, that COVID year, you're coming in and like trying to connect with new teammates, trying to get them because I feel like the Eagles, the guys before he got hurt, I feel like they spoke about him glowingly. Like the team loved him when he was on that MVP run. But
he was an MVP player.
Yeah,
he was beloved by everybody.
Got paid,
and it was a dive. Was it he hurt his
against the Rams?
It was on a dive, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was on like a push, like a shove. It was
he was rolling out, but it was him.
He scored too, right?
Yeah, he scored, and then because he dove, the guy was going to hit his knees, and it got like smushed between the guy who was tackling him and the guy that was diving trying to stop him.
Oh, that changes everything.
Everything.
Yeah. He came back in the next play too, and I believe they went for 2, and he was on the field for that play.
Yeah, that's Carson Wentz football.
Damn right.
That's Carson Wentz football. That changes it all. But yeah, you're right. I guess during the time in which it was, it's going to be tough to connect. But if you don't have the locker room behind you, I think that says a lot about who you are. That means the locker room knows, like, in the locker room, he's cool. In the weight room, he's working his ass off. In the meeting room, he's paying attention. Like, those are things that guys like. Like, if you're a shitbag and you're also bad, not a lot of people are going to like you. Like, hey, you're ruining everything for us. Like, all of us are kind of doing our thing. If you're a shitbag and you're great, it's like, all right, that's how
put up with it.
Keep going. They'll put up with it. Yeah, you're right. They'll put up with it until you're not good anymore.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Like, hey, that's how he plays. Can't put too much information in there. Yeah, can't be watching film. Yeah, because it's just saying how that.
Everyone will make excuses for it. If you're winning games and you're playing well, everyone around will make excuses for every pitfall that you may have until you start losing games.
And you start playing bad. If you start playing bad, it's like, well, you ever think about maybe...
This guy's a fucking asshole.
Like
maybe showing up before 9 a.m. one time, buddy? Like, yeah, all that.
Yeah, maybe like cold tub, maybe not being late to treat. You ever think about maybe just doing that? It'd be good.
It's funny, though, isn't it, Pat? All the stuff that you used to think he was cool for. Man, this guy's awesome. He smokes cigs. He doesn't ever work out. Like, he's a legend, right? He's a legend, bud. And then the second he starts playing bad, they hate everything about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, bud. Been there. Yeah, a lot of that. I mean, you think about a lot of teams have those guys because there's a lot of guys who, I don't want to say a lot of guys, but like there's a handful of guys who are just, you don't think their diet is terrible. The way they live, terrible. Their study habits, not great. Work ethic, is it? But then game day, they show up somehow. And it's
like rare.
A complete different ball. Handful of guys. Yeah, a handful of guys.
Like Ocho Cinco, kind of, because he was just eating McDonald's.
Yeah, but I think his work ethic is stupid.
Yeah, okay.
Sleeping at the facility and stuff.
Yeah, like I think that's the thing that doesn't get talked about is like the amount of like film study and work it takes to be at that highest level. Even the people that potentially like kind of fuck off a little bit. But there are some guys that for somehow, some way, and they're not going to be Hall of Famers, but they're able to have success who just somehow are the worst professional athletes of all time. Everything you're not supposed to do, they do. And somehow they can pull it off. And everybody else is just like, that's not real life. That's not how it goes. And then it ends up crashing. Then it kind of ends up crashing.
It's hard to sustain. It's really hard to sustain that, like, oh, you're just the best athlete. You've always been the best athlete. You can just show up, and as long as you play somewhat hard, you're going to be very good. Yeah, that's hard to sustain that for many, many years.
And if you hear what everybody's saying about Milroe, sounds like he's beloved. It's because he's doing it right on the behind closed doors, which we appreciate. Can't wait to see his growth. Even though D-Butt's like, Put him at tight end. That guy.
What was that about?
Pace is hell.
Great fullback.
But he wants to be a quarterback.
Hey, respect it. Hopefully he continues to grow. But if he does not, and there's no money anymore left, and there's the only option is to maybe run a couple routes, don't think it's a bad idea.
No.
Don't think it's a bad idea for anybody out there. Not that he's going to need to do that. We're just saying in general. And then you go to Georgia. Carson Beck. This dude just averages 300 a game. Just whatever. We're undefeated. Here we go. We beat everybody. That's just what we do. And I throw the ball all over the yard. We obviously have a run game in Milton and Edwards, but this dude is like a real deal. And he's making tough throws too. He's not even in the conversation for the Heisman. They're like not even number one team in the country, back-to-back national champions. His first year starting, averaging like 300 yards a game, slicing, dicing. They lose the best player in the country. He has his best game after that happens. It's like, and nobody's even talking about him. I assume like Jalen Milroe, obviously Kirby just complimented him. That's not normal though for a lot of people to come out and say that about him. And then Carson Beck, nobody's saying shit about this guy. He has to have so many, and he's stuck around now. He played before Stetson played. Then Stetson comes in whenever he gets hurt and does the whole Stetson thing for however long it is, and now he's still there. It's like the amount of shit he's been through.
Yeah,
and the way
Stetson got a bunch of good pub too when he was in college. Like we were always, maybe it was just everything, like the age, everything. His story is why he got a little more pub, or I guess Stetson is the one who kind of put those there, and now he's trying to uphold the expectations of Carson Beck. Yeah, that's what. Of course, yeah, you better win every game. You better throw for 300 plus.
Yeah, Carson's phenomenal though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I am a big fan of it, and he has a leg tat, which
he does.
You know what I mean? That is
a lot of moxie.
That's an ipso facto. That is an indicator for me because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'll get a leg tat." Not everybody follows through with how long that has to take.
Oh, my God.
The pain process and knowing exactly how cool it's going to look all the time. Dealing with how cool you look all the time is something you have to decide. He did. I love him. I absolutely love Carson Beck.
That Georgia team also feels like, in like October, it was one of those things where like they were maybe susceptible, like, hey, someone could maybe get him here. But now they've like found their identity and they know who they are, and it seems like they're right back to where they were last year. Like early in the season, I think a lot of people were like, oh, they lost so many guys to the NFL. They don't have Stetson raising hell in Athens anymore.
Maybe.
Maybe. I guess you're right. But now it seems like they've kind of rounded into form. I mean, like you talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like their fans were kind of ho-hum after they beat Missouri, and now we see like what Missouri's doing. It's like, this team's very, very fucking good, and it's going to take a Herculean effort from Alabama to beat them.
Yeah, and everybody is just not even – Brock Bowers obviously, best tight end. He's Lad McConkey.
Yeah.
He's awesome. How about his story? How about his story we learned about on game day? Jen Latta, I think, did a Lad McConkey special. His story, walk-on, obviously, played he's – sweet. He's awesome. They got more and more. It's an NFL factory all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm really hoping Saban comes out and just does exactly what Kirby does. Like, yeah, my grandkids were playing Madden and they're playing for the Bills. And I said, why are you playing for the Bills? Because I got Josh Allen, and he can do stuff that no one else can. And that's just like Carson Beck. They just go back and forth about their players in Madden.
Hey, you should tell them on Thursday. You should say, hey, I got an idea. I know you got people that you bounce ideas off of. I got an idea.
Let me be one for you.
Hey, because what Kirby did was be loved by everybody.
Everyone was talking
rat
about
poison.
You can have the same. Yeah, that's part of what he's saying.
Yeah,
I heard
but
what he's saying.
He's spitting the rat poison. In this sense, he is the rat poison.
I appreciate that the SEC championship is Georgia and Alabama, and I appreciate that it's Kirby Smart and Saban, especially if you go all the way back to last national championship when David Pollock, who I am a massive fan of, one of the greatest Bulldogs of all time, if not the greatest Georgia Bulldog of all time, said right in front of Saban, like, yeah, this is Georgia's daddy now, pretty much, is what he said in front of Saban. And they zoomed in on Saban's face, and they're like, look at this. And now here we are, in a definite college football playoff spot on the line. And if Georgia was to lose this, not saying that's going to happen, but it's college football. Literally anything can happen at any moment. It's like if Georgia loses, they're not going to be in a college football playoff all of a sudden because they lost one game. And it was to Alabama in the SEC championship. And you're going to leave the back-to-back national. So the back-to-back national champions, there's going to be another team with one loss in the college football playoffs. Yeah. But the back-to-back national champions with one loss aren't going to get in. Boy, I know the Georgia fans can get loud, okay, because they have certainly done that to me in person and on the internet. Very, very much so. Could you fathom that decision being made by
my God.
There's fucking chaos around it. Like Aaron said, I want chaos. Like there's a chance that it could happen. Now, chalk can go through and everything can get figured out, and the Florida State conversation is going to be the one that's going to piss everybody off.
God.
But if a couple other things happen, and there's going to be a lot of very loyal, passionate, loud people with connections, fan bases. A lot of them. Everybody just thinks about a couple. It's like, you don't think Texas has... You don't think Texas has some alumni that are pretty loud? I think,
Right, yeah.
I think they have some pretty loud alumni that will spur up a very, very passionate fan base. If they're left out of this thing, if they go win the Big 12, with a win over Alabama on their record, it'll be it's chaos, bro. College football is fucking insane.